Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was directed by Jeff Fowler and it stars everyone. And this movie takes place after the events of the last two films, and it takes place after the events of the Knuckles spin-off series. So in this movie, you have Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles who reunite back together to go against a mysterious villain, Shadow, who's on the path of revenge. And now we got our movie. Now I'm going to tell you right off the gate, I was really looking forward to this movie. Yeah, I was really looking forward to this movie. Now, after seeing the trailers for this movie, I said, wait. After seeing the trailers, I said, what the hell is going on? So I said, okay, so we're getting a Sonic 3, so I really appreciate that the trailers were keeping things pretty vague. And I heard so many good things about this movie. So I said, okay, since I heard so many good things about the film, I'm going to go see the movie for myself. Now, after seeing the movie for myself, walking out of the movie with a big smile on my face, I love this movie. I love this movie so much. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is gotta be like one of the best movies I've ever seen all year. Now, I did hear, you know what I heard? I did hear that we're actually going to be getting Sonic the Hedgehog 4. That's right, we're getting a Sonic 4 in the near future. I think Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is in the works or in development or both, but I believe this movie comes out in 2026 or 2027. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, but overall, I can't wait for Sonic 4. So with that down, let's go and talk about the actors and the characters themselves. Starting off with is Ben Schwartz as Sonic. Now, Sonic in this movie, he does have the same attitude. He does give out the biggest laughs in the movie. He does have the same jokes. He does have great chemistry. He does have great chemistry with both Knuckles and Tails. They're going on their mission to go against Shadow, and that's pretty much it. And that's pretty much it for that. So Ben Schwartz is really good in this movie as Sonic, and that's all I can say for Sonic. Next up is Idris Elba as Knuckles. Now, Knuckles the Echidna in this movie, he is the muscle character of this movie. He does give out the biggest laugh as well. There's sometimes, I guess there's like one or two moments where he does get more serious. But however, he does have excellent chemistry with both Sonic and Tails, and he's helping them out on this mission to go against Shadow, and that's it. And Idris Elba is really good in this movie as Knuckles, and that's all I can say for Knuckles. Next up is Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails. Now, Tails in this movie, Tails is more of the tech head of the group. Because he does have, he is smart. I think he not only is a tech head, but he is really, really smart with technology, most likely. But however, Tails does have great chemistry with Sonic and Knuckles, and he does help them out, go against Shadow and go on their mission, and that's pretty much it. And Colleen O'Shaughnessy is really good as Tails, and that's all I can say for Tails. Next up, the mysterious villain of this movie is Keanu Reeves as Shadow. Now, Shadow the Hedgehog in this movie, Shadow the Hedgehog was introduced in the post-credit scene of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which happened 2 years ago, and now 2 years later, we finally got Shadow. And I said, okay, who should be the casting choice for Shadow? It's got to be Keanu Reeves. And guess what? They gave me my wish. They gave me the wish that I want. Keanu Reeves to voice Shadow. Now, it looks like they gave me my wish. So Keanu Reeves is really good as Shadow. Now, Shadow in this movie, he does have a backstory, which was pretty dark. I did like the backstory. So the backstory was pretty dark. It took things seriously. It was very intense and a little bit emotional, but overall, the backstory was easy to understand. And I did like the backstory. I did like his backstory, and now he's on the path of revenge against those who are responsible for what happened back back during his flashback. So that's pretty much it. And what do I think of Shadow in this movie? I said Shadow must be done right. If you're going to put Shadow in Sonic 3, he must be done right. He must be done with justice. And guess what? They did him justice in this movie. He was a badass character. Yeah, he is a badass character. And he does kick a lot of ass as well. So that's what I really like about Shadow. And he does look really accurate to his video game and his cartoon counterpart. So I appreciate that. Like the other characters, like Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails are also accurate to their video game and cartoon counterparts, and that's it. So I think that is mostly it for that. And Keanu Reeves is really good in this movie as Shadow, and that's all I can say for Shadow. Next up is Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. Now, Dr. Robotnik in this movie, Dr. Robotnik in this movie, he's back from the events of Sonic 2, but in this movie, in this movie, he does give out a lot of laughs. So Jim Carrey is gotta be like one of the best parts of this movie. And I said, wait, I thought Jim Carrey was retiring. But no, maybe he heard that when they were doing a Sonic 3, he said maybe he was on board to do Sonic 3. So I guess he was on board for this. And it turns out he's really good in this movie. And that's all I can say. And Jim Carrey as Robotnik is like the best part of this movie as well. So that's pretty much it. So Jim Carrey is really good as Dr. Robotnik, and that's all I can say for Dr. Robotnik. And last but definitely not least is not only Jim Carrey was playing Dr. Robotnik, but Dr. Gerald Robotnik. Yeah, that's right. Jim Carrey is playing two Robotniks in this movie. Dr. Robotnik, the Dr. Robotnik that we've seen in the last two movies, but this Dr. Robotnik is named Dr. Gerald Robotnik. So, Dr. Gerald Robotnik, I said, when I saw him in the teaser trailer, I said, Dr. Gerald Robotnik. He looks familiar. So, when I looked him up, and I was like, so he is straight out of the one of the games and straight out of the cartoon. So, and they bought him in this movie. So, I appreciate that. So, Dr. Gerald Robotnik is really, really good in this movie. He does give out the biggest laughs. So, I guess Jim Carrey's playing two characters in this movie. Dr. Robotnik and Dr. Gerald Robotnik as well. So, Dr. Gerald Robotnik in this movie, he does give out the biggest laughs. He does have some jokes, and he does have great chemistry with Dr. Robotnik in this movie. So, I guess that's pretty much it for that. So, Jim Carrey is really good as Dr. Gerald Robotnik, and that's all I can say for Dr. Gerald Robotnik, and that's it for the actors and the characters themselves. So the action sequences, let's talk about the action. The action is fantastic. I love the action sequences in this movie. The final battle was helmed well in this movie. I mean, to be honest, I think the final battle was a lot better in this movie than it was in the first movie. I mean, with the first movie, I did like the final battle, but I'm like, okay, I get it, but with the final battle in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I did like the final battle in that one. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the final battle. I did love the final battle in the first movie, but in this one, the final battle in Sonic 3 is fantastic. I love the final battle, and the action sequences were awesome. And one of the biggest points I love about this movie are the human characters. Yeah, I think from what I heard, the human characters were a waste of time, were a bit of a waste in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But in this movie, they were done with justice. They were done a lot better in this movie. The human characters were funny in this movie. I did like the human characters in this movie, so I appreciate what the human characters were trying to do. They were given a lot to do in this movie than they did in the last two films, and that's it. And what else I like about this movie are the visual effects. The CGI, the visual effects was absolutely amazing. I like the way the visual effects was helmed pretty well. The visual effects in this movie felt more realistic. And I think there's some parts where I guess there's some parts where the Sorry. I guess there were some visual effects that looks a little bit more well, I wouldn't say game accurate, but the visual effects in this movie were awesome. So I guess that's pretty much it for that. So, and what else I like about this movie are the Easter eggs. I guess there were some Easter eggs in this movie. So I guess there were Easter eggs in this movie that were probably taken out of the games or the cartoon or from the events of the last two movies. So I'm like, oh, I remember this is from the first movie or the second movie or whatever. The Easter eggs were done well in this movie. And the pacing and the editing was also done really well. I think the pacing and editing didn't feel rushed. They actually take their time with the editing pacing of this movie. They don't take things and they slow or in a rushful turn. They take things very they actually take things a little bit more slow and fast paced, and by taking their time. The camera work in this movie was also done great as well. But the story in this movie but for the rest of this movie, the story, however, was fantastic as well. I did understand most of the story of this movie, and I think the story in this movie was done well. So I guess that's pretty much it for that. But for the rest of the movie, I guess that's pretty much it. So I guess that's pretty much it for this review for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? If you have seen it, what did you think of it? Did you like it or you didn't like it? But for me, I love the hell out of this movie. But like I said, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a great movie. If you have not seen it, if you have not seen this movie, go see it. And I guess that pretty much wraps it up for the review of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and there's nothing much else to say, so be sure to like, subscribe, press the notification button, follow me on Instagram, comment down below, and I'll see you in my next video, and thank you for watching.